nationwide demonstrated extraordinary bravery and compassion, and whereas the people of America gained a new appreciation for what it means to be a hero and a patriot by witnessing the unwavering loyalty of our firefighters, police, medical emergency personnel, first responders, and individuals who put the safety of their coworkers and friends above their own. And whereas we take time to acknowledge those left behind who have worked diligently to honor the memories of all victims. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Canby, in memory of the heroes whose lives were tragically lost, and in special recognition of courageous men and women everywhere who selflessly risked their own lives to save others and protect our liberty, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2019 as Patriot Day in Canby, and call upon all citizens to observe this day with gratitude and patriotism, and to make a personal pledge to honor and cherish the freedom that defies America. Given under my hand this 4th day of September 2019. I think.
Thank you, Mayor Hodson and City Council. To add to that, 2,996 people were killed that day. Over 6,000 people were injured, and countless people have died since then due to respiratory or cancer-type illnesses. So every year, the fire department does a 9/11 Memorial Day. 8 o'clock in the morning, we'll do our 9/11 Memorial. We'll look at the memorial that we have at the station. We'll have an honor guard, bell ceremony. We'll have a couple of guest speakers. One of our chaplains will give an invocation for us. So we want to do that in memory of all the people that we lost on that day and throughout the tragedy, to show that the solidarity that we have as a community and a nation. And it's very important to us to open this to you and everybody in the community to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Second proclamation this evening is Canby Public Library Day. Whereas the origins of our library reach back to 1937, when 3 members of the Canby Women's Civic Club went door to door gathering donations and books to start a community library. And whereas thanks to their diligent efforts, the Canby Library was established in Canby's newly built City Hall on September 16, 1937. And whereas since 1937, the library has improved the quality of life in Canby by serving as a center of community life and discourse, offering opportunities for people to enrich their lives through educational, cultural, and artistic experiences. And whereas libraries create better citizens and safeguard the future of our community by enabling individuals to make informed decisions about their self-governance, by promoting unrestricted access to information, by supporting print and technological literacy, lifelong learning, and the free expression of ideas. And whereas over the course of many years, Canby has been well served by its public library, which continues to make Canby a great place to live and work. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim September 16th, 2019 as Canby Public Library Day, and encourage all residents to take advantage of the many resources the library offers and to take part in the many activities being held to commemorate Canby Public Library Day, given under my hand this 4th day of September 2019. And Irene, I think.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Just a couple things. There. So I just want to say that September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month, so I encourage everybody who does not have a library card to sign up for one. And we really want to stress these days of libraries, although books are so important, especially for literacy with the young, that we're not just about books anymore. And as you know, on September 23rd, we'll be launching the Library of Things. We have a ton of programs coming up. We have computer classes on email accounts, internet basics, social media, and genealogy. Dr. Pierce from OHSU is coming to do a talk on brain maintenance. Program on West Coast hurricanes, the British Royals. We do a community song circle now. We have a Read to the Dog. We have a new dog that's coming, Taylor, for the children to read. But one of the things I want to stress too is that you don't need to physically walk into the library anymore. And that's one of the big things I think that we need to change the image of. So we have Cultural Pass Express. So if you have a library card, you can just download passes to various venues and museums and gardens throughout Oregon. The new Link mobile app, you can renew holds, you can store your barcodes in there, your family barcodes. You can access our online resources. A lot of people aren't familiar with a lot of the online resources that we have. So it's the Chilton Auto Repair Manual, where you can get repair wiring diagrams, everything you need to repair your auto with that. Consumer Reports, full text, so you don't need to pay for that at home. You should get that magazine. We have Pronunciator, which is a language learning thing. There's over close to 80 languages on Pronunciator. We have ebooks and audiobooks. And a lot of people don't realize there's 70,000 books that you can download onto your devices free with your library card, and you don't need to physically walk in, so that's pretty awesome. We also have mobile print, so if your printer is down, you can send it to the library and pick up there. So I just really want to let everybody aware of all the services you can get for free with your library card. Thanks.
Thanks, Arlene. Thank you for all that you do. Great, moving to communications. Mr. Robinson. All right. All right, moving to citizen input and community announcements. This is an opportunity for audience members to address the city council on items not on the agenda. Each person is entitled to 3 minutes to speak and address. If we can handle or address the situation here, we will. If not, Mr. Robinson, staff, and I will find out what we need to do, and we'll move forward with that. If you want to address us, there's yellow cards on the back podium there. Fill it out and bring it to Mr. Lindsay, our attorney, and he'll make sure that I get it. The first up is Paul. I'm sorry. Yulfsar. Thank you, sir. That's okay. You wanted to talk about the petition.
Yep. It's getting shorter, by the way. All right. Okay, I still expect the Canby City Council and the Canby School District to adhere to their core values. We, the signers of the petition that was given to the Canby School Board August 20th and the Canby City Council August 21st, requested a moratorium from the explosions at the Canby High School football games to redress the situation. It was ignored. Little has changed since the first time I addressed the issue with the City Council a year ago. On August 15th of 2018, you passed Ordinance 1489 regarding noise variance. This passed the buck to the school district. The City of Canby is responsible for ordinances. The Canby School District is responsible for education. I have time here, footnote from the paper. City administrator made a suggestion to use fireworks without the percussive component. Appreciate that, and I hope that that's a possibility. But then in the paper also it says Western Fireworks already donates to Canby High School the least percussive fireworks available. I'm a guarded cynic. It doesn't sound like much is going to change from that. So if there's less percussive fireworks that can be had, doesn't sound like Western Fireworks is going to be the one funding them or giving them. Does anybody know anything?
At this time, I do not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Next, I have Sarah Rodriguez for the diversity event recap.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to come and give a little recap about the Diversity Night Out Evening of Inclusion event that we had on August 24th. It was a new kind of adventure for us, so I'm happy to report that it was a success. Canby Transgender Alliance was joined by the Safe Club, the Clackamas County PFLAG, the Living Room, Bridging Cultures, members of the Canby School District and students of the Canby School District, and members from local area churches. I want to give a special thanks to members of the City of Canby who joined us, for those of you who joined us, and to the Canby Fire Department who also came out and joined us for a while. Basically, August 24th was a very busy day for everyone in Canby. The whole week was busy. In spite of that, we had about 75 people in attendance throughout the evening, which was really exciting. We had music performed by Jessie Ray Trio, who's an amazingly talented and fun local band. I would recommend them to anyone. Hot dogs were grilled, and in true potluck form, we enjoyed an array of side dishes, snacks, desserts, main dishes, tons of food. There was literally something for everyone. We had a terrific time visiting, eating, playing, getting to know our neighbors in the town that we love. The music set the tone as we danced. We all sang along, some of us danced. It was truly a small town feel on a beautiful summer evening. For anyone who is not familiar with the Canby Transgender Alliance, I just want to let you know that we were formed in March of 2019 when several of Canby's transgender members were feeling isolated, invisible, and misunderstood. They sought each other out for support and for community. We currently have 196 members, transgender individuals and their friends and families and allies who wish to support them. We aim to provide support for our transgender members and their loved ones. We offer education and outreach to the Canby community. We aim to participate fully as equal community members, supporting our community where we live. In order to ensure that everyone feels welcome, accepted, and valued, we look forward to building partnerships with local groups and businesses. In the last few months, we have led the Portland Pride and Parade, and we're featured as their group of the year. I'm sorry, I'm almost done. May I finish?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you. We participated in Canby's Independence Day Parade. We had a booth. We volunteered as community service group at the Independence Celebration. We tabled at county and local events. We have held monthly meetings every fourth Saturday in the library. Please feel free to stop by. We look forward to many more community events, community service, and civic engagement. You're welcome to join us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next, I have Larry Vargas about the Zion Memorial Marker Clean. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good.
For those of you that don't know, I'm on the Canby Heritage and Landmark Commission, and Judy Jarosh and I have been working on this project coming up. First of all, I'd like to say that we appreciate all the support that we get from the city for the Heritage and Landmark Commission, and we do our best to try and preserve the city's heritage and make sure that Canby's heritage and roots are recognized. And so we have our annual, it's becoming an annual cemetery historic cleaning coming up September 21st from 10:30 to 12:30. It's at the Zion Cemetery. And we've been working on cleaning these headstones and markers to preserve them. So there's a lot of interesting artwork and inscriptions on some of these headstones. Some of them have fallen into disrepair. And so each year we take a section of the cemetery and we work on cleaning those headstones, and we have some funding from grants. And so today we just wanted to bring it to your attention because we are looking for volunteers to help us. We have some people already that are signed up. We provide all the gloves, tools, and cleaning supplies, and there'll be some donuts and coffee and food and things like that there. But it's just a chance to come out and help preserve the heritage of the city, all the founding fathers and those that made Canby what it is. Go ahead and clean up those headstones and make sure that they're there preserved as long as possible for others to go and see. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I have some flyers here for those of you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Say, Larry, could you say what the date and time of that is again?
September 21st from 10:30 to 12:30.
From I know I have it here, but people are watching.
Thank you.
All right, that is the last of the yellow cards that I have. We'll move into mayor's business. Just a couple of recaps and thank yous. Canby's big weekend back on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I just, again, the big night out was a huge success. There was the street dance and whatnot on Friday night, the 23rd. Thank you to city staff and Public Works, Greg Perez was a big help. The teams at Backstop Bar and Grill, Ebner's, FOB Tap Room, Light of the World Church, Knights of Columbus was there serving hot dogs, or sorry, they were doing, I think, popcorn. American Legion ran out of hot dogs. Columbia Distributing was a major sponsor. We had just so many people that made that evening just a huge success. I think Jamie and I did a thumbnail kind of gathering, and we definitely exceeded probably 2,000 people again. So kudos for everyone for coming out. I want to say congratulations to the Canby Cruise In. They hosted over 700 cars for their 25th annual Cruise In. They had to keep closing off streets as cars kept pulling in that morning, and so big thank you to the Cutsforth family for keeping this alive and going and all their hard work on that. And then finally, congratulations to Swana and Dahlias for another beautiful festival season for them. The flowers were amazing. If you get a chance, drive by and take a look. Amazing. As I said earlier, school's back in session, so please slow down in school areas. Pay extra attention to the children walking, riding, and getting on and off the bus, etc. I know it's an adjustment. I know in some areas we've got fresh asphalt and paint, so there's no reason not to see crosswalks and whatnot. At this time, I have nothing to report on the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee. That'll be next meeting. Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation did not meet in August, so hopefully I'll have something at the next meeting. And then Park Advisory Board did not meet in August as well, so I'll have more to report next meeting. And I have did sit in on a transportation meeting that the county was hosting. As many of you may recall, the metro area passed it or is looking to do a big transportation bond in the metro area coming up here in 2020. And so Clackamas County has a number of projects that we want to see get on, projects that are within the metro boundary to get funding for. So I'll be bringing that back, make it part of hopefully the next packet so that we can determine whether or not you should take any kind of a position of support for these projects, though we're not involved in any of those projects or in the metro area. Many of our residents do commute through the metro travel shed, and it will impact them in a positive way if these projects can get done. So more to come on that. We'll move it. That's all that I have for tonight. We'll start with Councilor Berge and liaison reports.
I don't have anything to report this week. I was gone on our 25th anniversary last week, so I'll be back at them next week.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Councilor Parker.
Well, thanks to Larry for helping me with the Historic Landmark Commission report. The Bike Pedestrian Committee this month got out of City Hall and walked around Trost neighborhood and took notes on ways to improve the safety of that. They have got a grant on a safe routes to schools and took notes, and those will be forwarded through the staff liaison. The Bike Committee also is inviting you to join them on Friday at 9 a.m. at Legacy Park for a 3-hour hike through the Traverso property. I'll warn you that this is going to require a walk across the Molalla River, which at this point is probably knee-high, but you will get wet and a little bit dirty. But the Bike Pedestrian Committee, Mindy, our chair, has done this on her own and thought it would be helpful as an advisory body to the council to actually eyeball what's there in order for them to forward recommendations to the council. So 9 a.m. Legacy Park, anyone who wants to come. It's called a moderate hike, wading knee-deep, and I'll be there. I accepted invitation to the Canby PFLAG and was honored to have an opportunity to listen to what was on their minds. And also for the past 2 weeks, I accepted an invitation by the Getz family to work at the Dahlia Fields. And I thought I was impressed by the couple that drove over from Boise to celebrate their honeymoon, until I met a woman who drove overnight from San Francisco because she wanted to see it. And then I met a couple from Australia. And I said, well, what are you seeing while you're here? And she goes, oh, no, this is the reason we came here, that we've been ordering bulbs from Canby, Oregon, this mythical place, for 10 years, and this has been our life dream to come to Canby. So I'm going to be talking to Calvin about going out and talking to Heather about possible co-op things that we really did have a number of people, including a very rowdy group of retired nuns from Mary's Woods. So I'll save that story for private. And that's about it.
Great. Thank you, sir. Before Councilor Hensley begins hers, regarding the bike and ped Safe Routes to School grant there around Trost, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, Clackamas County did come through and we did an audit of car counts and whatnot around that school. I don't know if the Bike and Ped group has that information.
They're going to wrap that in. Part of their recommendation was walking up and down the streets, taking a look at areas where there is not sidewalks, for example, on Pine there and Township, where students either have to cross over or walk on a place that doesn't have sidewalks, and also part of the configuration and just human nature of students wanting to cross where they want to cross, even though there's not a crosswalk. So some of these may be insolvable, but I think the council really needs to thank a citizens committee for getting out, walking the streets, taking a look and saying, well, here we think would be the best place to put some energy. Part of the funds that they have will allow them to do an education campaign, and but again, I just think it was fun to get out of this building for a committee meeting, and now we're going to get our feet wet, so to speak.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Literally get your feet wet.
Councilor Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. None of my liaison assignments have met since our last meeting, so I don't have anything to report, but I do want to echo the kudos and appreciation for everyone who planned, organized, set up, and executed the Canby's Big Weekend. It was another successful year, and I appreciate everybody involved. That's
Great.
all.
Thank you. Council President Dale.
Canby Utility did not have any items of note at their last meeting. It was very brief, and everyone's taking care of Canby's Big Weekend, so I'll double up on you next month.
All right. Thank you, sir. Councilor Farley.
Well, Irene did a fantastic job talking about what's going on at the library, so I don't need to tell you anything more than she's already told you there, except that it's busy, very, very busy here. So that's a good thing. Lots of people coming in. And the fire department, they are plugging away with the bond stuff and the remodel coming up on the fire station, and I believe we have a signed lease for their north side location. So that's great stuff as well.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Spruill.
Yes, I have a couple of things tonight. CTV5 is doing some great work over there and getting really close later this fall to kind of reopening their doors in a similar fashion that they used to be open before, where people will have more access to the studio and to creating programming. They're still offering for, if you would like to become a producer at CTV5, they have a training program through Willamette Falls Media Center. And once you complete the program and put your first program on CTV5, I believe you get reimbursed for any charges for the classes. So if you're interested in doing anything with CTV5, reach out to them, and they have some ways to do that. First Thursday is tomorrow night, and they're doing a couple of things different. In addition to the several places in our downtown that are regularly open for First Thursday, there's going to be a Canby High School preview upstairs at the Antonia Ballroom above Backstop. And that's going to include some other businesses that aren't typically involved with First Thursday, including Wayward Sandwiches, which is the business coming into the Dahlia building, Wooden Shoe Vineyards, Canby Bible College, Bridging Cultures is going to be in front of the Oaxacan Bakery, and a couple of other things. So upstairs in the Antonia Ballroom during First Thursday, they're also going to be talking about some of the programs, academics, and sports available at the high school and what's coming up this year. So it's a kind of new way to tap in. And then and then CAT is finally adding some Saturday service, which we've been talking about for years as a goal, and thanks to the statewide Transit Improvement Fund, they have the funding now to start offering Saturday service. So that's going to start this Saturday, and this Saturday, September 7th, it's free to participate and ride. That service is going to be going from Oregon City through Canby to Woodburn, Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And then the CAT Paratransit and the general Dial-A-Ride are going to be available on Saturdays now too. So there will be, hold on, let me get this. The Dial-A-Ride operates within the Canby urban growth boundary, so if you're within there. And then the paratransit service to Oregon City is going to be limited to TriMet lift transfers on Saturdays, but will be available to Oregon City under those circumstances. So we're moving forward towards getting some of that Saturday service back that we haven't had in 10 years, and that's pretty exciting. And then finally, I want to thank all the organizations that were a part of the Diversity Night Out. I could only stop by briefly, but it was really lovely to see so many different community organizations come together for an event. And I had to leave because we were doing Movies in the Park, and Movies in the Park was a smashing success. We had, what do you think, like probably about 200 people there, and we only promoted it for about a week and a half, but we're looking forward to doing 2 movies next year, so.
And people wandered by and said, "What is this?" And
Yeah, I had a family stop in their car and say, "Is this free?" And I said, "Yes, come on over." So they parked and joined us. It was a great night.
Great, thank you.
I do have one more question for you though, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know if you have the answer right now, and if you don't, that's fine, maybe we can work towards it. But in terms of proclamations, we did a couple tonight. I thought we were gonna have a solution for what the process looks like by the end of June. And I know there were some changes at council that may have slowed it down, but I was just wondering if we could get an update on when we can expect some decision to be made about how organizations can ask for proclamations.
I will have that date for you soon.
Okay.
Sorry, yes. The process that I had put in place was having a couple of counselors review that process for me and with me, and due to some changes of the counselors that were involved, and then scheduling conflicts across the board, we just have not been able to pick a date that has been convenient for all of us to get together and review those conversations and put forth where we want to go with that. So
Okay.
I am working on that piece.
There are some local organizations and some student groups that have significant days to them coming up this fall. And so if it's okay with you, I'll have them reach out to you directly, because I know that we're running out of time to include their days in our proclamation process if it's going to continue.
Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Appreciate that, thank you. Great, anything else? No? All right. We'll move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the August 7th, 2019 City Council regular meeting and the August 21st, 2019 City Council regular meeting, and to appoint Rachel Swanson to the Heritage and Landmark Commission for a term to end on June 30th, 2021.
Thank you. Motion's been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve the consent agenda, which include the adoption of the minutes of the August 7th, 2019 City Council regular meeting and the August 21st, 2019 City Council regular meeting, and to appoint Rachel Swanson to the Heritage and Landmark Commission for a term to end on June 30th, 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 6-0. Next on the agenda this evening is a public hearing, doing text amendment 1902, amending the Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code. So let me read my statement, and then we'll get into it. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this matter, please fill out a yellow public testimony card and give it to the city recorder or city attorney. At the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and interest in the matter. Those people that, other than the applicants, that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands at this time. Okay. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. You may be limited by the time for your presentation. The applicant will be given a total of 15 minutes to speak. The proponents will be allowed 3 minutes each, and the opponents will be allowed 3 minutes each. The applicant will then have 5 minutes for rebuttal. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable criteria contained in the staff report. Conflicts of interest. At this time, I would ask that any member of the hearing body who has a conflict of interest please indicate the nature and extent of the conflict and whether you intend to participate or abstain from the present matter. Councilor Berge?
None, and willing to participate.
Thank you. Councilor Parker?
Same.
Councilor Hensley?
No conflict, will participate.
Thank you. Council President Dale?
No conflict, will participate.
Councilor Farwell?
No conflict, will participate.
And Councilor Spoon?
No conflict, will participate.
Thank you. Ex parte contact. Also, if any member of the hearing body has had any ex parte contact with anyone prior to this hearing, including a visit to the site, please declare the nature and extent of such contact at this time. Councilor Berge?
None.
Councilor Parker?
None.
Councilor Hensley?
None.
Council President Dale?
None.
And Councilor Schauber?
None.
And Councilor Spoon?
None.
I have also no conflict of interest or any ex parte contact and will participate as need be. Does any member of the audience have any questions for any councilor or the mayor regarding ex parte contact or conflicts of interest? All right. The public hearing will go as follows. We'll have the staff report, questions if any by the hearing body, then we'll open public hearing for testimony. The applicant will have not more than 15 minutes, proponents not more than 3 minutes, opponents not more than 3 minutes, and then rebuttal by the applicant will not more than 5 minutes. I will then close the public hearing. Questions, if any, by the hearing body, and then discussion by the hearing body. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedures of the hearing? Okay. We will go into our staff report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For the record, Sandy Freund with the Planning Division, Development Services Division, rather. This is a request by staff, actually, to amend Chapter 16.08.140 of the zoning ordinance, Title 16 of the Municipal Code. And it specifically is for temporary vendor permits and the duration of how long one could have a temporary vendor permit. It's actually a very simple amendment. It's a proposal to amend the language to grant an additional 90-day duration, thereby allowing the permit holder to conduct their business on a temporary basis for a total of 270 days within 1 calendar year rather than 180 days, which is the current code language. And with that, the Planning Commission found that the text amendment review criteria had been met and therefore recommended the City Council approve the text amendment TA 19-02. And with that, I will conclude this brief presentation and open it up for questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions of staff on this? None whatsoever. So Sandy, I have one. What led to the expansion of this?
On occasion, we have folks come to the counter, as you know, and we issue temporary vendor permits, and they would like to set up a food truck or a hot dog stand, or I have a gentleman right now who's got temporary the sheds, the type, like Tough Sheds, but not Tough Sheds, who's actually out on 99 by Elm and First. Folks looking to try their business out and set it up in a particular location on private property and see how it goes. And they can come in for a renewal after 90 days and keep going. If they're doing well with their business, they get a business license. So if they come in, they have to get a renewal. There's a renewal fee. And some folks get a little discouraged when they hear they can only be there for 180 days total, barring that we have no complaints, of course. And so we've had a few requests from several folks to see if that could be a little longer. We have a church that has a tent up for some weddings. That happens to be a historic property, and to do an addition to the property to enlarge it is very complex, as you know, through our Heritage and Landmarks Commission and any nationally registered property. So requests from folks like that just want a little longer to test the water and see how their business is going to go, and if it's going to go or not. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Sandy?
Yes.
You just mentioned food carts.
Yes.
But then, as I read through this, there was a spot where it specifically said food carts would be not according to this amendment.
That's correct. Chair Savory had asked specifically if this was a backdoor amendment to allow food carts, and I assured him it was not. We do get folks that set up food carts on occasion. I did let him know that if we're going to discuss food carts, it's going to be a much larger process, a public process, and it would involve, a entire code amendment, I would think, to create an entire chapter dealing with just food carts, design, everything. And so this is not anything to do with food carts or food cart pods in that sense. This is just for temporary vendor permits, the way we issue them today, for everybody.
Thank you. Councilor Smokes?
What's the current cost for a temporary vendor permit?
It is, oh my gosh, I can't remember. I don't know if it's $30 or $50. The $50, I think it's $50 and the renewal is $30.
Okay. I guess I'm just a little bit confused because a business license is $50. I'm not sure, I guess I really understand why someone would renew, even if it was $30, by the time you renew it twice, you've spent almost twice as much on a temporary, I guess I'm just a little bit confused about why someone would do that.
Well, they are required to get the business license in any event. In addition to that, the temporary vendor permit is an additional charge.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure because I was like, well, okay, so they get a business license anyway, and then the temporary vendor permit allows them to do business
in that particular private property
Yep.
location.
So that they don't have to do a typical brick and mortar?
No.
Are they allowed to, let's take the example of a business that has a tent for events. Are they allowed to get a temporary vendor permit, then not renew it over the winter because they're not doing outdoor events, then just get one every summer without actually?
Technically, somebody could do that. It's within one calendar year, and then they go away, and then if they come back, they want to set it up again, they go through the process again.
So it could allow a process for someone to kind of do permanent business without ever going through the process to get
brick and mortar. Yeah, some folks just can't afford it, so.
And that's really the underlying reason for the reapplication period at the end of each 90-day period is if something like this is occurring, if the neighbors are unhappy about, or competitors are unhappy about it, then they have an opportunity to protest.
I did, as an example, just to tag on to folks that request this, I did have somebody who came in, this was very unusual, to have like a catering business out of their home, that they load everything up into a little cart in their backyard and take it off for the day and go and do their deliveries or whatnot, but not really be set up for business in that particular location. It was a very interesting request. So that was just one example of somebody just trying to do some business, and not necessarily a home occupation business, but to go out.
Yeah, and I certainly want to promote business in town and have people have an opportunity. What I don't want to do is punish people that make it punish people that are doing it the more traditional way and, setting up and going through the whole process. Because 270 days, that total, that's a pretty significant part of the year, and I just want to make sure we're being fair to all businesses and not,
And that's one of the, I think the underlying expectations is that there's a requirement that whatever is occurring stops, and that would include, using the tent as an example, removing the tent, disassembling and removing the tent, and then coming back in again for an application. That process is actually in place now, but just for 180 days rather than 270 days. The advantage of the longer time period, which I am supportive of, is that a business that's really trying to see if it can be competitive in the community has a better opportunity to make that determination if they can see if they're viable. Because, frankly, it takes 60 to 90 to 180 days for a business to know if they're going to get the patronage to support the additional costs associated with creating this business opportunity.
Is there an advantage to limiting the number of consecutive years they can do it to at some point encourage them to complete the process that the other businesses go through? To prevent people from basically being seasonal businesses and going around the process?
Well, there certainly could be if you're targeting a particular business.
Right, no, I just mean in general, because if, 270 days is most of the year, and then if you can do that every year, right, at some point,
yeah,
it seems like your business, if you've done it 5 years in a row, it seems like your business is making it, right? Which I'm just trying to figure out if there's an advantage or not.
Yeah, I guess one of the underlying challenges here is and you touched on it, Councilor Spoon, is whether it's creating an unfair advantage to somebody. And I don't really know how to quantify what constitutes an unfair advantage. If it's a business that is operating for 270 days in a 365-day period, and they're the sole provider of that service, and they are providing a community benefit.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, they are having, an unfair advantage over other businesses that are attempting to do the same thing, then perhaps it would be necessary to revisit a change of this nature. One of the aspects about changing codes is that we put them in place, and then we see if they do create an opportunity for growth and success or unfair competition. And sometimes the only way to do it is put it in place and see what you come out with.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Sandy at all? No? Okay. Then I will open up the public hearing.
Thank you.
I think the city is the applicant here, which I think we've heard from. I didn't have any proponents or opponents at all, so there's nothing for Sandy necessarily to rebut, so we will close the public hearing. All right, any further questions at all from us?
I would say I support it because I want to see new businesses come and see if they survive, but I do hope that maybe we can track if there are businesses that are doing it year after year after year, that eventually we consider that at some point if someone's abusing the process, that limits put on it. I don't expect that. I think we have very friendly businesses, but just an awareness that that's something that could happen, and maybe seeing if businesses are using it to avoid the process that everyone else goes through.
So I guess maybe that's the concern. I think I'm trying to wrap my mind around give me an example where someone might be, if they're like a food vendor and they're setting up on,
Could be, or I think in this case then, I feel bad even using this example because I think this business is doing a great job, but I think a business that does events, that puts up a tent every summer for spring to almost winter, then they tear it down, because they're not going to do outdoor events in January, you know what I mean? And you just kind of fudge those 270 days without ever going through the process that other similar businesses would have to go through. I don't expect that anyone would abuse it. I just think an awareness that is something that could happen, and maybe looking for trends if in 3 to 5 years the same business is doing it every single for 275 days every year, that maybe it's open, we should open the conversation again.
Yeah, and I think the other criteria, and I do think this is a very important element, is that the business does have to reapply every 90 days, and there is an opportunity for protests to that application. So if another business comes in that's a brick and mortar business that's competing with, using your example, that's competing with this business that does most of its activities from, spring through fall, then I think it bears looking at and paying more attention to. I think in the aggregate, it does create an opportunity for business success that may not be present and available to an individual trying to get a foothold in the community. Okay.
Any other discussion at this point? Okay. I think that's coming up here in our resolutions and ordinances, so thanks, Sandy. We'll move on from the public hearing piece. Thank you. Moving into resolutions and ordinances. Joe, are you in charge tonight?
First up, yes.
All right.
You have ordinance 1514. This is for second reading, and this is amending Canby's comprehensive plan in Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code, subject to the findings and final order of the Planning Commission utilizing the revised text amendment language provided by staff, which was attached to the July 8th supplemental memorandum to the Planning Commission, and with the further amendments of the state definitions for residential care facilities, along with an outright or conditional use in the R1 zoning. You heard this, was it two meetings ago, where there was a public hearing, and it was a bunch of changes to our planning code, and the one issue that we kind of highlighted for us to make sure that it was changed so we wouldn't have to go back through the public meeting process was the language around in R1, whether, what definition should there be and what allowance should there be for residential care facilities. And so that's why it looks like that, and it's so long, and my apologies, whoever has to read it.
Joe, what page is that motion on?
Excellent question. I can offer,
350, sir.
just for ease, I can offer my noted version so that whoever would like to make a motion could read it.
That might be helpful, Joe.
So, any takers? Mayor?
I'll just directly hand that to Council President to deal with.
It's 1514.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance 1514, amending Canby's comprehensive plan in Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code, subject to the findings and final order of the Planning Commission utilizing the revised text amendment language provided by staff, which was attached to the July 8th supplemental memorandum to the Planning Commission, and with the further amendments of state definitions for residential care facilities, along with an outright or conditional use in the R1 zoning.
Second. You better hand that back to him so you can read it again. That's a lot.
Thank you, sir. So motion has been made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Varwig to adopt ordinance 1514, amending Canby's comprehensive plan in Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code, subject to the findings and final order of the Planning Commission utilizing the revised text amendment language provided by staff, which was attached to the July 8th supplemental memorandum to the Planning Commission, and with the further amendments of state definitions for residential care facilities, along with an outright or conditional use in the R1 zoning. And roll call vote.
Councilor Bergen?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Aye.
Councilor Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor President Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Varwig?
Aye.
And Councilor Schmidt?
Aye.
Great. Motion carries 6-0.
And next up, we have ordinance 1520, and this is actually the ordinance associated with tonight's public hearing. And so it's amending Canby Land Development and Planning Ordinance Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code in the exact way that staff recommended just earlier.
Great. Thank you, sir.
So 1520 as you have it here, Joe?
Yeah.
All righty. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 1520, amending Canby Land Development and Planning Ordinance, Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code, to come up for second reading on September 18th, 2019.
I'll second.
Motion made by Council President Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve ordinance 1520, amending Canby Land Development and Planning Ordinance, Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code to come up for second reading on September 18th, 2019. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 6-0. New business this evening, findings, conclusions, and final order for CPA Text Amendment 19-01.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the findings, conclusion, and final order of CPA TA 19-01.
Motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varley to approve findings and conclusions, findings, conclusion, and final order for CPA/TA 19-01. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Next up is the City Administrator Employment Agreement. So as many of you know, we are finishing up the process here of onboarding, hopefully, Scott McClure as our new city manager. And what is here is the employment agreement that we need to vote on and codify so that we can move forward, and he can then give notice at his current position and then start here tentatively with the plan being October 7th. Are there any comments or questions or discussion on this? It did go out recently to all of us for review before being sent over to Mr. McClure, who sent it back with accepting the contract. Now it's just in our lap to approve it. So
Mr. Mayor,
any thoughts or?
Well, we need a motion and second for we discuss. So I will move that we approve the city administrator employment agreement with Scott McClure.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Spoon to approve the city administrator employment agreement with Scott McClure. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. City administrator business and staff report. Second opportunity for citizen input, if anyone wants to address us on anything that's been on the agenda this evening. All right. Seeing none, action review.
You've approved the consent agenda. You've adopted ordinance 1514. You've approved ordinance 1520 to come back for second reading on the September, whatever it is, 18th. You've approved the findings, conclusion, and final order for CPA-TA 1901, and you've approved the new city administrator employment agreement with Scott McClure.
Great, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We do not have an exec session this evening, but before I move to adjourn, I want to wish Mr. Parker a happy birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Hope you do something fun and exciting, sir.
Taking dance lessons.
Excellent. Always good.
Watch out, Candy.
Yeah.
Next year's big night out is going to be something.
There you go.
Show off his new moves.
That'll be an interesting conversation later. All right, well, I will take a motion to adjourn then.
So moved. Second.
Great, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, Canby, good night. We are adjourned. Yes, to not violate meeting law. I need to meet with you guys in shifts, so